Hello and welcome to Jazzmacke. I'm Marcus and this channel is about improvisational based music. I do improvisations, compose songs and sometimes other things like musical experiments, all to try to inspire people to improvise. In this video I give my personal ranking of E.S.T's 11 studio albums. Esbjörn Svensson Trio, or E.S.T, is one of my favorite jazz bands, although they said we are a pop band playing jazz. The blending of different genres like pop, rock, classical music, and exploration of sonic soundscapes using the format of jazz songs with a lot of improvisational parts is one of the ways to describe this band. Their first album was released 1993 and their last album was released 2012. 4 years after the tragic death of Esbjörn Svensson in a diving accident. This is my personal opinion and I'll describe how I scored this album at the end of the video. Esbjörn Svensson Trio was Esbjörn Svensson on piano, Berglund on bass and Magnus Öström on drums. So let's jump into it. So on position 11 we have E.S.T plays Monk. They have tried to ease up the quirky parts of Monk's music to make the songs more accessible, and they managed that pretty well. There are some places that it's hard to tell if they intentionally play dissonant parts or just miss some notes. For example, Pusco with Nelly. The use of string arrangements works nice on Round Midnight, but on I Mean You, the string arrangements more feels like a fill-out than adding to the whole picture. A little drier far away sound on some of the songs like Little Rudy Tooty has the album, and I don't really favor that. Evidence has a cool start, but I personally like their own songs better. So on position 10 we have When Everyone Has Gone. This is the debut album and it is a quite good listen. It's a good mix of faster and slower songs and one standard, Stella by Starlight. It displays the trio's interplay capabilities and Esbjörn's songwriting skills. They use some additional synth pads as well as vocals to create moody soundscapes. There are some good solos by Esbjörn, for example Tough Tough, and by Dan and Magnus on Silly Walk. Silly Walk and Tough Tough are two party jazz songs that I do not really favor except for these solos. Esbjörn has many ideas on this album, but they are not always aligned with each other, although I like Esbjörn's solo on Tough Tough. Some experiments using the piano strings in various ways is starting to emerge, but but they are small in comparison with what will come. On position number 9 we have Winter in Venice. Here they are own composition except the last song. There is a nice playing and melodies, but it doesn't affect me or touch me more in a shallow way. I like the first part of the Semblance suite. It feels like a preview of what is to come soundscape wise. There is nice interplay moment in Dan Black Blues during the start of Magnus solo. On position 8 we have 301. This is from the same session as Leucocyte. It was recording in the studio with this name in Sydney in Australia. It's more or less free improvisation. It's hard to tell how much they prepared. They could have prepared some chord changes, for example. But I like their own songs more. There's a nice interplay moment during Dan's first solo on Left Lane. On position 7 we have Viaticum. Viaticum is Latin for provision for a journey. That's one explanation. Some nice songs on this album, but nothing is really standing out. More experimental ideas is emerging, such as in the Tale of Her Eye or in the hidden track of What Though the Way May Be Long. On position 6 we have Good Morning Susie, Soho. This album is introducing even more effects, for example distortion, for also bass and drums, for also bass and drums, synth and other instruments, as well as longer songs around 10 minutes compared to the 4 previous albums. Esbjörn's groaning starts to be hearable here, so it's a little bit annoying sometimes. Magnus's rim hits are so in place on Reminiscence of a Soul. And this is the first use of hidden tracks. So now we are up to the top 5. So on position 5 we have Leucocyte, which means white blood cells. This has free improvisation, but yet it's very accessible. And since this album is built more on improvisation than the other albums, except 301, which is from the same recording session, this requires the musicians to really listen carefully to each other, and I think they managed that pretty good. The end of the Premonition 1, Earth, is so dramatic with Magnus's drumming. Leucocyte 3, Ad Mortem, is currently actually my favorite song of over all albums. So on position 4 we have Tuesday Wonderland. This album has little nicer melodies and playing than the lower ranked ones. Distortion effects in tracks other than the hidden one, that is nice, as well as some more prepared pianos. So we're in for top 3 now, and on position 3 we have From Gagarin's Point of View. This album has the sound that several of the coming albums would have. It has a nice blend of moody and swinging songs, so it was kind of a first album to start the new direction of the sounds. There are some first uses on these albums, like a light bell like synth sound, piano effects, as well as playing with prepared piano, and also using a bow on the upright bass. Definition of a Dog has a rubato part where piano and drums are playing together with bass, which is kind of refreshing. On position 2 we have 7 Days of Falling. This continues on the path of Good Morning Susie, Soho, and Strange Place for Snow. Maybe a little more effects, and the interplay is even more refined. Did They Ever Tell Cousteau has a really good build-up and interplay. The hidden track of ODRIP is a vocal version of Believe the Left Below, or Love is Real. So the top album is Strange Place for Snow. So not so major leaps taken compared to From Gagarin's Point of View on this album and Good Morning Susie, Soho. What lifts this album up above those others is some really fast and inspiring solos by Esbjörn, in my opinion. As with Good Morning Susie, Soho, this album also has a hidden raw pounding track with distorted instrument, and this one actually transfers into a calmer ending part and eventually to an ambient sound that is also part of the first track of 7 Days of Falling. So they're bridging both these albums. So that was my personal album ranking of E.S.T's studio albums. So I did this album review in the same way as the Esbjörn Trio album ranking. I was using the Spotify versions, and I counted the hearts. I've hearted all the songs that I really appreciate. Then I have evaluated how well the interplay was, and how well their solo was, and how well the production was. For example, if there is some kind of effect, too much reverb, too little reverb, too dry sound, too much groaning hearable from Esbjörn or other things. And also the balance of songs. Is it fast, slow songs in a good balance? How many are own compositions, and how many is improvised from scratch? As I'm guessing if they are improvised from scratch. It would be nice to hear what you think. So let me know in the comments, and take care. Bye bye.